Nirajan, the RBI has clearly surprised the markets by not doing anything at all. What do you think is the principal reason why he hasn't either cut rates or reduced the CRR?
Well, I think it's quite clear that the inflation issue is playing on his mind. And he had also said in February when he cut interest rates that a lot depends on how the government manages its finances. So if you have a looser monetary policy, you need to have a tighter fiscal policy. So this mix hasn't been done properly. So till the government cuts its fiscal deficit, he thinks that there's not enough space for a monetary loosening.
But shouldn't core inflation come down in the future if growth keeps on disappointing?
Yeah, actually, that's an extremely valid point because, Subbarao had said that our non-inflationary growth rate is about 7.5%. So we are below that even for the year. Forget the quarterly numbers. Even for the year, we'll be about 1 percentage point below that. And core inflation has been coming down gradually. Perhaps it will go down further. What's interesting in this statement which he made today was that he has focused on retail inflation. Now, normally, the Reserve Bank talks about headline inflation and talks about core inflation. But I think to especially mention retail inflation, and just this morning again the government put out the May numbers, again double digit. So I think he's bothered about this inflationary expectation cycle which has been let loose. So while core inflation is perhaps the most important thing which the RBI looks at, I think this retail inflation issue also they have started focusing on.
Yeah, but that raises the question: can the RBI really do anything about this headline inflation? Does keeping interest rates high actually reduce headline inflation? Because most of it is supply side, right?
Absolutely, point well taken. So there are two issues here. One is that the RBI cannot do anything about it, but the fact is that
the
inflationary expectations are formed because of consumer prices. Means you and I, the man on the street, his understanding of inflation comes from what is happening to prices of vegetables and milk and food. So that's one issue. And I think secondly, about interest rates being high, he has given one data point, which is that compared to the boom years, actually interest rates currently are lower despite us having higher inflation. So it's a complicated situation. So I think it's a call he has taken. I don't think he has shut his options because the global situation is extremely murky. One doesn't know what's going to happen. The growth slowdown, if it worsens, I think he'll have to take a risk. But let me ask you a question. I think you were of the opinion that perhaps there is a reason for an interest rate reduction because the real economy, the problems are quite deep. So how do you look at this caution which he has displayed today?
I think that I honestly do not feel that the RBI can do much about headline inflation, which the governor himself has also said the same thing. He has said it's up to the government to do things. So I think what he is doing over here is, he's tying, it's like tying Ulysses to the mast, so that, if the RBI reduces rates, it offers an exit to the government, right? A way out to the government. So the government need not do anything. But now, probably he is thinking that the government should be forced to do something. I'm not going to do anything until the government is forced to act, which I think is also a good thing.
So tell me one thing, Manas, what is your assessment of how the bond and equity markets will play out? Because obviously there were expectations of a rate cut and the global risk aversion again seems to be going up. So how do you see the markets taking this inaction or pause in its stride?
Well, the equity markets have clearly been disappointed, but I honestly think that what matters to the equity markets most is capital inflows, right? And capital inflows are a function of what happens abroad and what happens in Europe. The Greece thing is a positive, but not a great positive. I mean, they still don't have a government right now. So let's see how it plays out. I don't think risk appetite is going to bounce back in a big way. It might, because people are sitting on lots of cash, so it might temporarily do so. But then the European problem will, until that is solved, which will take time, I don't think that risk appetite will sustainably bounce back.